This is the Fox 5 News Block.
Some breaking news as we come on air. Former Congresswoman Carolyn McCarthy has died to look back at her life and legacy as a gun control advocate. But first, the heat wave over, a very big drop in temperatures as the tri-state finally gets a break from the record-breaking heat. Good afternoon, Bianca Peters. Welcome to the News Block. Today's weather could not be more different than the scorching temps we have been dealing with all week. Let's get right over to Liv Johnson in the Weather Center with more on this. You might need a jacket out there.
I definitely needed one.
Yeah.
I mean, just because of this switch up. I mean, you can see on the graphic behind me, 24-degree difference from where we were yesterday. Even more dramatic for places like Hartford, about 30 degrees. Same with East Hampton, 27 degrees cooler than 24 hours ago. So that does put us at a pretty comfortable place, but it's just that switch up makes it feel a lot cooler. So it's just 70 degrees in New York, so we're below average for this time of year. 72 out on Long Island. We just have the 60s for Hartford, 70 for Poughkeepsie, 76 for Newark. We see we're hanging on to warmer temperatures a little bit further west in places like Pennsylvania. Now we're also getting some relief from those really high dew point temperatures, so it feels less humid. We'll enjoy those dew point temperatures for the rest of today and most of tomorrow. They'll go back up on Saturday when we have some scattered showers move through the area. We did see a little bit of precipitation throughout some parts of the tri-state early this morning, and we can't rule out seeing a passing shower later this evening. Same thing tomorrow evening, and same thing on Saturday. I'll time that out a little better later in the show, Bianca.
All right, Liv, thanks so much. To one of our top stories now. Former Congresswoman Carolyn McCarthy has died at the age of 81. She spent nearly 2 decades in the House after a tragic mass shooting touched her family and inspired her to fight for gun control. Fox 5's Linda Schmidt joins us from inside the newsroom with more on this. Linda.
Yeah, this is such sad news to hear today. Carolyn McCarthy, by the way, she was thrust into the spotlight after a crazed gunman opened fire on commuters on the LIRR back in 1993. Her husband was among those killed, and her son was seriously injured. After that, she became a fierce gun control advocate. Now, over the years, I had only been working here at Fox 5 for 8 months when that shooting happened, and then over the years, I met Carolyn McCarthy several times, and I have to tell you, she was just such a lovely lady. The mass shooting happened about 3 weeks before Christmas. The gunman, Colin Ferguson, killed 6 people and he injured 19 others. McCarthy's son was shot in the head, but he survived. Now, without any political experience whatsoever, McCarthy decided to run for Congress to fight for gun control, and she defeated the incumbent Republican. She ended up serving as a Congress member from Nassau County for 18 years. And McCarthy helped to strengthen background checks for people buying guns, as well as child-proof gun triggers. And then in 2013, she announced that she had lung cancer, and then she retired from Congress the very next year. Also today, Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman has ordered that flags to be flown at half-staff between now and McCarthy's burial. And he has also instructed the county's Department of Public Works to find a street to name in her honor. And of course, we're going to have more for you tonight on the 5 o'clock news. But Bianca, I can't tell you, I can't stress this enough, what sad news this is. She was a beloved, not just a member of her community, but she was a beloved member of Congress. And then after having her husband killed and her son seriously injured, to think that she accomplished everything that she did, and she became such an advocate for gun control. I mean, it's just amazing.
She turned a lot of that pain into some everlasting change. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Linda, thank you so much for that. Meanwhile, to this now, the Pentagon trying to set the record straight on what happened to Iran's nuclear sites following the U.S. airstrikes over the weekend. Fox's Rebecca Castor has details from Washington.
This Pentagon test video shows what the bunker buster bombs used to strike Iran's nuclear sites on Saturday are capable of. U.S. pilots dropped 12 of them on Fordow. And in a fiery press conference, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth made it clear Iran's nuclear program suffered a heavy blow.
You want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated, choose your word. This was an historically successful attack, and we should celebrate it as Americans.
Trump officials are pushing back after a leaked preliminary U.S. intelligence report suggested otherwise. But now other agencies are weighing in. The CIA, Department of National Intelligence, and the UN Atomic Energy Agency all say the nuclear sites are destroyed or severely damaged.
The pilots stated, quote, "This was the brightest explosion that I've ever seen. It literally looked like daylight."
Iran's supreme leader is still in hiding, but shared his first public message since the ceasefire. He praised Iran's retaliatory attack on the U.S. military base in Qatar and says such an action can be repeated in the future, too. Should any aggression occur, the enemy will definitely pay a heavy price.
Iran's going to have to say a lot of things right now in order to bolster their image, but we're watching very closely what they do.
The Pentagon also revealed that it was just 44 U.S. soldiers between the ages of 21 and 28 who successfully defended the base in Qatar, America's largest in the Middle East. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Well, the United States Supreme Court rules states can cut off Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood. That ruling comes amid a wider Republican-backed push to defund the country's biggest abortion provider. The case centers on funding for other health care services Planned Parenthood provides in South Carolina, but that ruling could have broader implications for Medicaid patients. The court split 6-3 in that opinion, with the 3 liberal justices dissenting. And closing arguments get underway in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. The prosecution expected to take several hours in their closing. Several of Combs' sons and daughters arrived at the courthouse this morning in a show of support. It is the first time in weeks we've seen so many of his children in court. Prosecutors are trying to convince the jury that Combs belongs behind bars for decades and, if not life, on the RICO sex trafficking charges. While the world saw Combs as a billionaire hip-hop and lifestyle mogul, prosecutors say that he was actually the leader of a criminal enterprise and thought himself above the law. All right, Mayor Eric Adams officially kicks off his re-election campaign.
Asking you, New Yorkers, to continue to stand with me as we move this city in the right direction. I'm ready to be your mayor again for another 4 years.
Well, normally incumbents have a much easier time cruising to re-election, but that may not be the case here. Adams is running as an independent because of his now dropped criminal case. Last year, you'll remember, numerous people in Adams' orbit were caught up in multiple federal investigations, forcing his police commissioner, deputy mayor, and schools chancellor to resign. Adams himself faced federal bribery and corruption charges and was set to go to trial this spring. Now, those charges were later dropped, but many accuse Adams of engaging in a quid pro quo with the Trump administration. Adams will face Erwin Mamdani, who declared victory in the Democratic mayoral primary earlier this week. And demonstrators rallied on the steps of City Hall this morning, calling for Mayor Adams to support more funding for immigration legal services.
So we're here to say, yes, we need more money for legal services, and we need all New Yorkers to fight back to keep this community in our city.
The rally comes ahead of Monday's deadline for the fiscal year 2026 city budget. Council members and advocates are demanding the additional funding to protect New Yorkers from the Trump administration violating their constitutional rights. Demonstrators say that they want more funding, even though Mayor Adams just included an additional $4.4 million in that executive budget. Meanwhile, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Are you ready for the ultimate entertainment experience? Spectrum is bringing together the streaming apps you love. Plus, live TV for sports, entertainment, and news. All in one place, across your devices. So no matter when or where you are, it's all here. Spectrum.
All right, welcome back. A concerning update now from the FDNY EMS union. One leader tells Fox 5 that some 911 calls are waiting up to 3 hours for an ambulance due to the heat wave. According to the union, there has been a spike in calls over the last few days, but right now they are seeing an additional 800 calls per day. The union says that they are 100% staffed under their current budget, but urgently need more funding from City Hall.
In November of last year, we had a gentleman who testified how he did CPR on his son for 30 minutes before an ambulance arrived. His son passed away. These are things that are happening every day because there's not enough ambulances.
And Fox 5 reached out to City Hall for comment on EMS staffing and response times, but has not heard back yet. All right, one last live look outside right now as the camera is really making its way through the city, figuring out what to center on right now. Took me through a little ride there. I'm pretty sure I saw MSG in the background.
That just made me really dizzy.
I was trying to figure out, like, where do we look at? What's going on? There's a lot to look at in the city, so.
Well, either way, it's gray skies. That's how the rest of the day is going to look. Can't rule out a quick passing shower, especially for New Jersey, between really now to about 10 p.m. But it's a pretty small chance, and it will be light rain regardless. And tomorrow morning, we wake up with mild temperatures still hanging on to those cloudy conditions in the 60s and 70s. Tomorrow's actually even cooler than today. Then kind of a similar situation where we could see a couple stray showers in the evening, but not a washout by any means. Then Saturday, some more scattered showers, but again, not a washout. We still have a pretty decent few days ahead of us, just cooler, and there is some rain possible. Lows tonight in the 60s, highs tomorrow, like I said, even cooler, low 70s for most of us, even upper 60s down the shore in New Jersey. We warm back up to the 80s for the weekend. Hopefully the Pride March on Sunday will be dry and just pretty warm. And then we warm up again by mid next week, back into the mid to upper 80s. Bianca.
All right, let's get those temps back up there. Liv, thanks so much. Public school students across the city celebrating the start of summer vacation. Today was the final day of classes at city public schools. DOE officials helped celebrate the end of the year at PS 152 in Woodside, Queens. Kids there were treated to an ice cream social. Teachers say it was a perfect way to reward students for all their hard work over the past year and then send off graduating fifth graders, of course, in style.
We're just celebrating the last day of school. Our students are learning to read, write, math, academics, civics for all, and today's a day of just having fun and relaxing and just thinking back and reflecting on all of the accomplishments this year.
Not that we want to rain on your parade, but school is out until Thursday, September 4th. The clock is ticking down. Meanwhile, an incredible surprise for a graduating high school senior in Newark. Take a look.
He wants to become a music teacher in the Newark Public Schools. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Here's a $74,000 contract.
Miguel Rodriguez Bermudez is one of 34 students to get a conditional job offer from the Newark Public School District. Once they finish college and earn a teaching certification, the job will be waiting for them. Most of the students were enrolled in the Red Hawks Rising Teacher Academy, which gets them ready for careers in education, which is pretty incredible. Getting a job offer, knowing you're graduating and have something lined up for you, especially when so many students graduating college right now are still trying to figure out what they're going to be doing. So congrats to them. Meanwhile, that is your news block for now. I'm Bianca Peters. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you tune into the 5 o'clock news on Fox 5 and right here on Fox Local for all of the day's news as it develops. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Thursday.